Greetings one and all. I am Jim, your friendly Lacuna GM. Welcome to Channel Otherdoc. I use he/him pronouns, and this is our Invisible Sun campaign, The Edge of Paradox. Invisible Sun is a surreal slice of life game by Monte Games. We are integrating the directed campaign, but most of this game happens spontaneously. We've been off for a week. We actually didn't we didn't get to play last week, but I've got all manner of crap going on. But we are back, at least for now. And let us go around and introduce everyone. And we shall start with Djinnaya. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, I was not ready. My name is Djinnaya, and I use she/her pronouns. And I am playing Shaw Gamelon, an established gallant of the Order of Makers who cages adversaries. Shaw also uses she/her pronouns. And I've actually been out for 2 games, so I'm super excited to be right back. Or 2 weeks.
Excellent. It's going to be interesting, I'm pretty sure.
I'm shocked, I tell you, shocked.
Yeah, if it makes you feel any better, I'm also I also have just gotten to the point that I just really, as far as instead of really preparing better, I think I've just come to accept that I am ill prepared, and that just made me feel better at any rate. So that's just me anyway. But let us move on to Wilde. Hello.
Yes, hello, hi, I am Wilde Engineer, and I am playing Shantano, the itinerant empath of the Order of Apostate who splinters into fragments. They go by they, them pronouns.
Excellent. Excellent. And now let us move on to Anino. Hello.
Hi, my name's Anino. I am playing Mac the Husk.
Coolness. Let me actually put this other thing up here. Yes, good. Okay, excellent. And let's move. And now, finally, let us move on to Danielle. Hello.
Hello, I'm Danielle, she/her pronouns, and my character also uses she/her pronouns. That would be Bomerapanos, aka Boar, everyone's favorite telepath. She is a connected ardent of the Order of Weavers who shepherds minds.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, again, like we do with most games on this channel, we are going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. If we hit something that is crossing a line for one of the players, any of them can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or make an X symbol, and we'll back up and we'll do something else. If something happens that they're okay having in the game, but they don't want a graphic description of it, they can type an N in the chat, and we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil. So it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if we're exploring a topic or area of roleplay that is particularly intense, or is particularly intense for you, but you want to keep going, you can put an O in the chat to let us know that you're okay and we're good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is we can put an O with a question mark after it when we're moving into a difficult topic, or we say or we do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. And then everyone else can respond to that and let us know if we're still doing okay. So, it's been a little bit of time. And as far as I recollect, a few things happened most recently here. I believe Vor, Mac, and Shantano went up to check out the whole Limerence Street situation, if I recall correctly. And Vor put out some mental feelers, and Mac and Shantano ended up sort of trying to sort of looking around the buildings and sort of looking either variously for problems or spirits or what have you, and a ghost was there, a ghost of a young boy named Thomas, whom they met, who, I don't know if they've actually talked to him much about what was going on, but he does, one thing they do know is that he does remember Limerence Street, because the house that he was haunting was there, and it's not there anymore, and he's very sad because of that, because he didn't have a place to go. He's also sad for other reasons that he kind of hinted at, as if I recall correctly. But as kind of a lot of that was going on, I think that let's see. Vor was also putting as Vor was putting out these sort of psychic feelers. She did briefly spy this entity that a couple of the other members of the party have seen, and this was just as a street urchin was attempting to pick her pocket, and so there was a brief altercation. Street urchin ran down the street, was stopped by Mr. Child, who turns out was in the neighborhood, and was in fact had been hired to bring her back to her family. Her brother in any case. Mr. Child also actually did remember Limerence Street, but was really just not really wanting to. Didn't really seem that interested. He was slightly interested, but was mostly just trying to do his job. But he did identify that he had heard about the kind of creature that that had been seen now by 3 members of the party, and that would be a thing called the Seeker of Souls. And so, in an effort to try to track this thing down, Mac remembered that the first place that he had seen it was in an alleyway a couple of streets over. Well, really 1 street over, because it should be 2 streets over, but it's only 1 street over right now. He summoned his friend, a spirit that is a polar bear clad in armor, named, I believe, Sir Godfrey, if I remember correctly. Notes, what are they? I had some once. I don't know where they went. Hopefully they're in front of me somewhere. But then, so they went across to the alley. They summoned Sir Godfrey, went across to get some muscle on their side, went across to the alley, and tried to pick up on it. And at that point, a couple of things happened. They did manage to spot it briefly. As it came rushing out of the alley. Vor was trying to read its mind, and unfortunately succeeded a little bit. Got some impressions anyway. Of this horrible, horrible longing for souls, because there was a separation, but not separation from something or someone very important to the Seeker, but terrible, terrible loss. And so went through a number of things, flashed through Vor's head, images that were being sorted out even after a certain amount of time later. The thing also, prior to doing that, knocked Sir Godfrey on his ass, basically. He came flying back out of the alley as this thing fled. And that is where we left off. So, what I would like to know is how much time has passed. When do we want to pick up? Because we've actually not had any sessions in between then and now. Of the regular or development variety. Do we want to start immediately, or do we want to start a little bit later? What do we want to do?
We regroup with Shaw and see about what is it? Trying to help her out with the tower ghost.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, I think we should lick our wounds, because
Let's see.
just bitch slapped my best spirit, Allie. So I owe that guy one now.
Yeah, he was a little banged up. He was kind of amazed that this thing came at him so fast. and so he went ahead and he retreated to regroup and try to see if he can figure out more about this thing's strategy, because it's clearly something he knows he can't take on by himself.
Yeah, I feel really, really bad about that too.
Well, luckily, he feels as though it was still a counts as an honorable battle. So even though he failed immediately, he still failed definitively, which was the important thing.
Hopefully, he won't hold that against me.
But yeah, he's gonna have to go back and heal up a bit. So, where do you want to meet with Shah? What kind of place?
So, I mean, Shah, what have you been doing in this intervening time?
Yeah.
Well, I think the standard for missing a session is that the character sort of drifted back into shadow. And so I was kind of picturing, I'd gone back to the house to get things. I'd gone back to get the guy, the monster in the stasis chamber, right? To bring him back over to the ship. And I think, so one of Shah's shadow possessions that she has is a radio. That's the dispatch radio from when she was a paramedic in the army, which was what she was in her shadow life. And I think maybe it crackled quite a bit, and she walked over and turned it up, and it was making a call that was very similar to something that she had done before. And I think she just fell into shadow, and then kind of like was there for a little bit, but in this very distorted half present phase. And somebody finally said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And she was like, "I'm not supposed to be here." And then she ended up making it back into Saturine.
Excellent.
So I think she's not sure exactly how much time has passed or what she's missed. She just knows she was supposed to meet people, and she has failed to meet people. So that's, I think, where she is in her house being like, "Oh, fuck, I don't know if I was gone for a week or if I was gone for a second. And I just know I forgot what was real and what mattered."
So knowing this, you folks would probably know that she's probably going to turn up probably somewhere around her house in not too long. Which seems like...
I say we probably just go find Shah's mine.
Yeah, go back to the mine.
Okay. I have a question. Shah, do you have a doorbell or something along those lines?
I do. I think that I have, it's just an elevator shaft to get into her house, but I think there's like a big hand-forged brass bell on like one of those spiral iron springy things that you ring. And as you ring it, it rings, and then you can hear like another ring down below and a ring like something bouncing down a mine shaft as these various forms of, enchanted bells ring down to a little thing that goes in her living room.
Excellent. So when you head over to the mine, do you ring the bell, or are you going to just hang out on the outside, or what you gonna do? You folks?
I'm gonna ring the bell.
Okay. So yeah, Shaw, you've gotten back. You're just sort of looking around, and you hear this.
I'll look around real fast. Does going into shadow count as a dream? Is my living room suddenly full of military paraphernalia?
I would say that it's probably... I feel like it's... there may be a slight a subtle shift, but it's not as pronounced as would happen if you were just asleep.
Okay, so I think she just
this.
sort of throws a black blanket over something that's army green and goes over and hits the button to go up in the elevator to answer the door.
Yeah, I am assuming that it's Vor, so I'm kind of assuming it's this slight Wagnerian sort of ring.
Yeah, I'm definitely like pinging on it repeatedly, but in a rhythmic fashion.
Or I will
Making
say,
a composition out of it.
yeah, I will say that kind of, so you've been kind of sorting through the stuff that you saw. You do recognize one of the faces. That you did see a face of somebody, and that was like. As there was some sort of determination involved, but then there was also, sort of emotions this thing was feeling. It has a lot of emotions, but possibly regret or something else, or despair, something. It's hard to know. But you remember that this is a guy named Veryagan. This is someone you kind of know. They actually live on the edge of your neighborhood, on the northern edge. Kind of just, if you recall correctly, he lives across that empty lot where they've set up the on the street that's just beyond the empty lot where they've set up the World's Fair. And as this is going on, the elevator comes up, and you see Shaw.
Hello, I'm so sorry. I got very distracted. How late am I?
Oh, hey Shaw, we were just calling back. We couldn't really find what we were looking for, and we got attacked, which is nice. Not nice, but it happened.
Not perhaps the word I would use, Shantae.
No.
No, you are a very strange Visley. Attacked?
No. We was determined that we came to a group decision that I was nice. So.
Oh. Well, you can be nice and strange. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
I suppose that's true.
Are you all okay? Would you like to come in? Is somebody following you?
And actually, when you say that, you hear a little voice say, "He is nice."
I look around.
You don't see anybody. You just hear this voice. Everyone hears this voice. It sounds like a child.
Oh. Maybe we should go inside. Come inside.
I'll follow Shaw into the mine.
Okay.
Y'all go inside.
I take you down in the mine shaft and make everybody tea and fuss. Are you okay? Are you hurt? Do you have a thing? Are you all right? Like.
Oh, fine. Just a little. But we definitely found something.
What were you looking for?
Well, we were investigating that street that disappeared, and I was using some of my telepathy, and we found this thing called the Seeker of Souls.
Oh, that does not sound nice.
No, I tried to communicate with it telepathically, and it was not pleasant.
Oh.
To say the least. But we think it has something to do with why the streets disappeared.
Well.
If I had to guess, there was someone on that street that probably summoned or called that seeker somehow, and in order to escape it, made the entire street disappear. Unfortunately, there are a number of things on that street that we wanted to accomplish, and so far we are a bit stuck as to how to breach the spell that's containing it.
Yeah, and it's not complete. The street is not completely forgotten. I mean, there are definitely others out there who remember and are searching for the street. So even though it seems to have just disappeared, it hasn't quite disappeared from memory completely.
But unfortunately, it is inaccessible, which is a problem.
It's very
Well,
sad, the voice says.
You have a new friend.
Oh, yeah. All right. What was the spirit's name? I forgot to write that down.
Oh, Thomas.
Thomas. Oh, yeah. It's an urchin spirit by the name of Thomas. Say hello to Shaw. Thomas.
Thomas materializes in a chair. It's a kid. He looks like he's about... What did I say? It was like preteen? He's about 9. Actually, it looks like. So you sort of see through, and you can see sort of this ghostly skeleton sort of occasionally illuminating inside of him. He just sort of waves. Hello.
Hello, Thomas.
You have a very nice mind.
Well, thank you. I like it quite a bit. I'm glad that you do as well.
My home was where I was staying was on the street when it went away.
Oh, dear. Well, that's just terrible. Well, I think we need to find the street.
We do. But I think taking the direct approach, well, in your absence, did not really quite help us. So maybe we need to fall back on our original strategy, which was to find it without actually looking for it.
Right.
Still not sure how that works, but maybe if we just accomplish this other mission that we have, in which we're going to pick up this passenger or prisoner, shepherd it to on that mime's boat.
To the gold.
Yeah. Why don't we just go to the
Right. Okay. Right. That's what we were doing. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yes, it's right here. She pats the stasis chamber and kind of like, moves a little bit of dust off the front and says, "Hello," in the window. Wait. Oh, do you think that the mime would still let us go? Are we too late?
Well, I guess there's one way to find out, and even if he isn't there at the pier, I'm sure there's another ship that we can find our way onto.
All right. Wonderful. Let's go.
Okay. I'm going to draw a card now.
Dun dun dun.
Da 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 da. Dee 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 dee. All right. What have we here? We have unknowable truth, which is strangely appropriate considering what we've just been talking about. It is in the family of secrets. Its meanings are truth searching and futility. I've just noticed that I have a few people in the wrong window. Let me fix that, because for some reason I forget everyone's identities. There we go. There we go. People in right windows. The Raven stands watch over the unknown. As we strive for understanding, the closer we get to the truth, the farther away it becomes. We know this to be true, but only after we've made the journey. The truth, we learn, is that we cannot actually know the truth. At the very heart of the secrets family, the unknowable truth is the ultimate secret. The secret that cannot be, by its very nature, learned. But still we try anyway. It is futile, and yet it is productive. Even when you climb an infinite mountain, you're still moving forward. When in divination, when the unknowable truth card is revealed, it affirms and advocates for a conclusion. However, it indicates futility regarding a plan. Otherwise, it means that the answer requires more searching, perhaps searching elsewhere.
Uh-oh.
How did I pull a card for a scene that we already started? That's
Magic.
I don't understand.
It's the heart of the cards, Jen.
It is, isn't it?
I think it's more dark heart of the cards for Jim.
Oh God. Okay. Here we go then. So yeah. You're heading to the docks. To get out of wait, no, you gotta get out of the part of gotta get out of the far district, the far town, to get over to the docks. Let me pull up the dock information here. Within the city of Santorini. So once you get out up into the hollows, which there's a transition, right? So Fartown is actually on a separate world, even though technically it's still under the Indigo. It sits in an interesting kind of position, and that may be part of another reason, even a cosmic reason, why they wanted to have the World's Fair there. So there are points from which in Fartown you can go out. There are gates, as I recall, that you go through to get to the gate. There's a gate to the hollows, basically. It's a gathering place. You have merchants set up food carts and things of that nature. It's a very, very busy district. So you can kind of, in my mind, it's just basically this big sort of stone archway that's sitting in the middle of this. I don't want to call it exactly a park, but it's sort of a park. It's just concrete mostly that's been laid down, and all manner of folks gathering around and hawking their wares. People coming back and forth through the gate, and once you head through, you find yourselves in Santorini, the greater city of Santorini itself, in the hollows, and you can get to where you need to go a few different ways. There are taxis. There is a tram car, I believe, of sorts, a sort of rail car, cable car type deal, I think, probably, between the various places. So I'm assuming you're using some form of public transportation to get up there.
I like the tram car idea.
Just push this big stasis chamber onto the tram car.
I'm sure they won't mind at all.
It's like rush hour. Shaw's anxiety. It's just like, excuse me, pardon me, I'm so sorry.
It feels like a scene like from the Avengers, like the cutaway to the tram car where we're all just gathered around this coffin and we're just like, hey.
Yes. So yeah, you get onto that. Did I put a? No, I did not put a map. It's not hugely important right this moment. But at some point, when I can actually wrap my brain around it, I'll put a map of Santorini in the handouts. But in general, where you're heading is kind of northeast. As you kind of, all manner of surreal folk as you pass by. Sort of there's this little cluster of dog people on the tram that are looking just sort of kind of terrified at this stasis chamber that you've wheeled in. Ah! Someone is raiding. Thanks very much. Variant rolls. Hey, how you doing, folks? We are chaotically moving our way through Saturnine to catch a boat. And as you do so, you're sort of heading on the tram. There are a number of stops. It stops by the quiet lake, runs through the Marquee Quarter.
To the dog people, I'll just say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're just crate training."
They just sort of look at it, and look at you. Right. They turn and they get off at the Marquee Quarter. You're not sure if that was their stop, but they just didn't want to engage very much.
Oh, we're back and good job. Now we have the car to ourselves.
Yeah, for the most part, there are a few rat people at the far end that seem to be playing a dice game.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I go take them for all they're worth?
You certainly may. You certainly may attempt to do so. So they have this is basically they're these rats. They're about each 3 feet high. They're kind of dressed like kind of 17th century courtiers, and they're all wearing wigs.
Oh.
Sort of late 17th century, early 18th century, perhaps. Long coats, but little long coats because they're rats.
Question: can I get one of them to bet me his wig or her wig?
I think that will be an excellent thing to attempt. So this will be a challenge of I'm gonna say 3.
Okay.
They are not they're mostly having fun. They're just playing for glass orbs right now.
All right. Well, I mean, I have 3 ranks of skill in game theory.
Yeah. So you actually you can do it. So you just do it. So you kind of just go, but yeah. So through game theory, do you just sort of approach them and talk to them about the game? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put the full charm on and be like, hey, that's an amazing wig. I've always wanted a wig like that. I really love your coats. Before the others can even blink, I'm sitting down amidst all of these rat people with my cane laying across my lap, tossing dice.
They all also have canes. They have a nice sort of very brass-headed canes that it seems that they use to whenever someone rolls well, they do this thing where they strike the ground of the floor of the head with the cane.
I'm totally in on that. I'll get my cane out. I'm doing the same thing.
Very good. Excellent.
These are my people.
So yeah, they apparently you go in and you basically can after a few minutes you're going to end up with, if you're just purely just cruising on the game theory and not throwing even anything more at it.
No, I'm just having fun.
Okay, yeah. So you can get a few orbs, but actually, pretty quickly you can get them to bet for one of them to bet their wig, since they are at this point returning home from the Rat Parliament, which had a meeting, and so they had to, and so that's the main reason they're dressed up right now, so they.
Whenever I have done that, I don't want to take them for a ton of money or anything, but I'm going to give them my card that has the address of my house and be like, we have an excellent dice alley just next door.
Oh, truly, excellent. I should very much like to see that. That's very good. And they're sort of chatting with each other as this is going on. they're just sort of as they're doing this, they look down. There was this cult. Isn't that sort of near the down near that neighborhood where that cult is?
Oh, you mean the church?
Oh, I didn't know it was a church or something. I heard this rumor. What?
Well, what cult are you referring to? I mean, there's plenty.
Yeah, no. It was one of them. It's those Numic folks. Numic. Numa. Yes, that's right. Yes, he was saying this was something delightfully interested about thought down there when they were looking it over. I can't. I don't know. Yeah.
And you said this is down near my place.
Yes, apparently there's it's around those neighborhoods somewhere. I think it's yeah.
Are they attempting to do anything in particular, or are they just preaching thought?
My I don't really know a lot about it, but it's just my understanding is that they were very much into looking inward. Is that right? Looking inward, yes, something along those lines. Yeah, I just think it's rather fascinating sometimes. They just had this study group of some kind, but no one seems to know anything about them. That's the terrifying thing. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll learn more about them eventually.
Yeah, I should probably. Yeah. Yes. If we ever get back down there, we should probably have a look around. It's with their records or some such. They'll likely have something.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into it.
Oh, that's very good.
Don't forget to come to the game next to my house. I'd love to play dice with y'all again.
Oh yeah, excellent. Very good. They each give you their business cards. They have these little business cards that are very. Yeah, they're calling cards. They're very very nice, sort of gold leaf inscribed, and they're very yeah, just essentially they've each got different titles, and they're apparently they work for apparently they work for the Ministry of Garbage.
The Ministry of Garbage. These sound like good people to be friends with.
And yeah, basically the one that was the one that you were talking to is that primarily is apparently it's, and he's the one who is best dressed, and he's the one whose wig you got. His name is Hoyd, and he is the Minister of Garbage. In the Rat Parliament.
Who knew that garbage needed procedural management?
I mean, Saturn is a big city. You know? A lot of garbage.
So for
After I've taken their card and sort of I'm making a joke about how he can try to put his wig back in the alley.
Yeah, and they're all very much they're sort of they're laughing. They have their handkerchiefs out, and they're very much.
And I'll say, hey, well, my stop's coming up, but before I get off, y'all heard anything about this missing street?
No, there's a street missing. Bad management, no doubt. The entire buildings go missing all the time, and they just have no idea what the trouble is.
So, is there anything that you know of that could cause something like that? I mean, I'm sure you see way more of the city than most of us Weasley do.
They look around, just sort of chattering with each other for a second. I'm going to draw another card now.
Oh boy.
I'm going to draw another card because I cannot stop myself. And let me go ahead and... So many windows, so little time. Okay. And so this card that I have just drawn is the sealed door. Don't know if we've had this one yet. It's the Seven of Secrets. Its meanings are delay, inaction, barriers, unchanging.
Right.
The door holds more promise than a wall, but a sealed door is perhaps worse for the egress it suggests, and then denies. This barrier prevents us from moving forward. It is delay, wasted time, a failed attempt. Still, a door with a keyhole suggests both the existence of a key and something valuable on the other side. Of course, the door in the family of secrets is sealed. The door in the family of the secrets is sealed. It keeps the secret safe. The implication, of course, is that great discoveries lie on the other side, if only you can get there. In divination, generally a card of ill omen, the sealed door stands in the way of victory. It keeps one from a goal. Since progression always involves change, it can, however, simply mean that things don't change. And if one is in a good place when this card is turned, that can indicate that the pleasing situation will continue. All right. Well, they sort of look at each other for a moment as they're kind of as they're kind of just sort of like thinking it over, and they're just kind of looking at it. Well, there was, you see, it's usually a clerical error of some kind, more than anything else.
Really? A clerical error can make a whole street disappear.
It can. I've seen it happen. You see, and the books, from my understanding, you see, we've, from what we have heard from the various garbage management staff, we occasionally have rolled down in the Silver Hill, I believe it is, down there. The state of the books in the gerent's office are not good. They seem to have some difficulty distinguishing their books from their garbage.
Don't say.
Indeed.
Do you think if we could, clean those records up a bit, the street might come back?
Stranger things have happened. Certainly.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, sometimes, just a simple misplaced comma. An I goes undotted, a T goes uncrossed, and
Where did you
entire neighborhoods become craters.
Where did you say those books were again?
The gerent's office, I believe. It's who is the gerent down there? Can't remember off the top of my head. But it's they've got this big office on one of those main streets down there. Gerent of Silver Hill.
I'll find it. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Most welcome.
And I will offer to shake his little rat paw.
Yeah, he
and then return to my group.
And when she returns, Mac is just going to be sitting there staring at her with one quirked eyebrow. Just be like, so let me get this straight. Right now we're delivery people. And then the next possible solution is for us to pretend we're auditors and try to get into a gerent's office to...
Mac, I can talk my way into anything and get us into that office. But you were the one who suggested we just sort of, do other things and the solutions would present themselves. I mean...
I suppose that's true, but if I wanted to work for Deloitte, I would have just stayed in the shadow.
Well, no one says we have to do it permanently. All we gotta do is get in there, find the right book, erase a comma or whatever, and then the street comes back and everything's fine. It's a one-time thing.
If it even works. And
We're gonna try. What other leads do we have other than the creepy shadow thing?
Mac is just gonna knock on the stasis chamber. I'm like, well, we got to get this
Well, of course. We'll do this first.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I'm fairly good at getting into small places, I believe.
See?
I mean, I know I can
Or
usually able to see on the other side of things, so you can know if it's actually there or not.
that sounds very useful, Shannon. See, this is gonna be so easy.
Yeah, just trying to reduce the risk. If something goes wrong, then it's just more fun.
Yeah, it's just like a regular Ocean 6.
Mac, when have I ever led you astray?
Do I have to answer that right now?
This train ride isn't that long. No,
What probably happens is I say, when have I ever led you astray? And then the door opens and
Yeah.
just walks out. not waiting for the answer to that question.
That's fair. Yeah, no,
And there isn't an answer.
yeah, you have hit your stop. Yes, you're definitely. You have. You are back at the. You're heading for the harbor. Let me go ahead and pull the map back up so that I can see where everything is. Yay, there it is. Okay. So yeah, you have gotten off in the reinvention. That's as far as the line runs. The reinvention, home to Gamrose Tower and the Far Pyramid Theater. As you see, where are you heading here? At least I think that's where you're supposed to be heading. Because your boats are on the off of the wee islands up there. All right. The sun ships dock from there. This is in the Fade, which is there we go. Okay. There we go. The sunship berths. Okay, in the Fade. Now if I pull up the Fade again, will it actually show me the Fade, or is it just going to stare at me strangely? Who knows? Who knows? I know where it is, but for some reason it's not. There it is. Okay. So yeah, it's not much of a hop over. You have to take another. You have to basically hop on another one to get over to the Fade. Which you crosses over a bridge. The Fade is the home to the Autonomic Academy and the Tower of Lost Sleep. And apparently there are sunship berths, but it doesn't specify exactly what part of the Fade it's on, but it's, I'm assuming, toward the water.
It's a good choice for ships.
It would help, I think. So you go toward the water. See, I think that you've got these pretty large docks. It's, sort of like it's a dock at the edge of a city. So you've got sort of where the concrete goes up, and then you've got wood heading out. These wooden docks, sets of them. You've got boats going back and forth, doing various business, and people of all manner of people. sort of pacing back and forth, and you see there is a building kind of. I think what you're going to see is where the dock starts. It's just one large one, and then there's this shack in the middle of it, and where perhaps the harbor master is, and this almost like spider web of docks heading out, basically. Sort of not exactly a spider web, but it's kind of like if perhaps a tree would be a better sort of way to describe it. Branches out, many different branches of smaller docks heading out into the water, which some of them you can't see for the mist.
So I imagine we'll head straight for the harbor master's office. The mime sort of implied to us that it would be obvious if we look around. Do we see a ship that looks particularly theatrical?
So, as you are looking around, so you do see, after you're sort of wandering around the docks for a little bit, there is this steamboat looking thing that has a comedy tragedy mask on the side.
I'm betting it's that one. Should we try over there?
You're muted.
Thank you. Yes, that seems right. Anybody have any objections?
It is the most apropos one here.
I'll just start pushing this cart full of elderbrand in the direction of the steamboat.
It's coming out. People don't look at you too strangely when you do this, because this, there are people moving crates back and forth.
Right.
And
Shaw will still be overly polite just to cover her bases. Oh, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me. Hello, good day. Hello.
Yeah. So you're moving this around, trying to get to this little boat that you see. There is also a sunship in dock, but you turn away from that, and you head toward that. There it is. That was the thing I was looking for. Okay. It's just a few seconds too late. So as you moving, as you sort of are moving toward that with the thing, you hear this coming from behind you. Hold on there. And you see this gentleman whose head appears to be a tank of fish. Moving toward you is wearing a sort of a blue coat with some kind of sort of a harbor insignia on it. And he just sort of comes forward, steps forward. He's carrying a clipboard. And he says,
I'm so sorry. Come again?
And one of the fish, there's this big green fish inside that sort of leaps up onto the edge, is like, puts on its spectacles, and says, "No, what have you got? What have you got there? What have you got there?"
Oh, it's just well, it's an Elderbrid, we're just taking him back to where it belongs. We're just looking for our friend. He has, I think that's their boat, but I would tell you their name, but they're a mime, so we didn't really get their name, but I'm pretty sure we're just going over there to see our friend. Can we help you with something?
Are you authorized to transport that?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
And then he's just going to turn and continue to.
I do believe everything is in order. Thank you so much for checking. She kind of like curtsies and turns around and goes back to pushing the thing.
And he's sort of starting to come after you. It's like we got to register and weigh the thing.
Wait, you have to register and weigh all the passengers? I think everything's fine. It's just a passenger. He's just asleep. We're fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So this is going to, I think, be if you wish him to stop pursuing you. This is going to be, I think, a challenge of 4.
Oh shit. Wow, it's a good thing I have all that interaction skill.
Yeah, Boar's just sort of watching this whole thing, very amused by watching Shaw try to deal with this.
I don't think that I really, like, as a player, I don't think I need him to stop pursuing me, but I do think that
Okay.
like, oh yes, everything's fine, thank you. Like, everything's in order.
The net weight of the Elderbrin passenger is about 215 pounds. The stasis chamber is about, I'm going to give it about 300 to 500 pounds or so, give or take. There you go. There are your numbers.
All right.
I'll finally step into it, and after Mac gives the numbers, and I'll be like, seriously, it's fine. And if there's like some kind of higher authority here that I just know off the top of my head, like roughly who that organization is, I'll be like, so-and-so is aware that we're transporting this. We're doing it as a very, very special favor for some very powerful people. So you'd be better off just letting us handle it, okay?
I think Shantano's gonna whisper over to Shaw. He's like, do you need me to use the coin?
Oh my goodness, my friend. No, I definitely think we should save that for a more dire occasion.
Yes, okay.
This is just paperwork.
Nice.
We should save it for something beyond paperwork. But thank you. That's very nice of you to offer.
I have heard that paperwork can be the death of someone, but
it's true. But you know, it is kind of the way in Saturine. It's fine. It's fine. And she'll like stop pushing the cart and take both of his hands in her hands and be like, it's fine. And then she'll go back to pushing the cart.
I think after the sheer level of confusion that this is all caused, he's just going to note it down. And once he sees which ship you're heading toward, he just sort of stands there. And it's just sort of like having this conversation with himself. Do I really want to have a conversation with that mime?
Oh, hey! We could always use some extras for our show.
He just kind of is like makes a couple of checks on the box. He says, and he just sort of goes over. He looks in through the window, sees the elder, and he looks up. He's like, "Have a safe trip." And he just turns around and walks back to the shack.
Well, that was easy enough.
I know. I think we have a pretty good career going as grifters.
We're not grifting. We're being very honest. This is totally fine.
Yeah.
It's just a passenger. He's just asleep.
Oh, all right, Sean. I look back at Mac and I'm just like, I agree with you, definitely.
That is the most unsettling sleep I've ever seen.
Yeah. The funny thing is that the harbor master doesn't actually necessarily report to an authority because everything is kind of a DIY thing in this city. But you're able to bring up enough folks that are kind of local that he doesn't want to have to deal with because everyone has to deal with each other.
People, so that's just
yeah.
just rattle off lists of people who might be useful in this scenario.
Yeah. But as you get to this boat, and you also realize this is probably the one you were looking for, because you see smoke coming up from it, but it's making absolutely no noise.
Wonderful.
I guess we're just going to have to provide our own sound effects.
I think the story is supposed to work without them.
Oh, right.
Out of the cabin comes the mime. He is wearing a captain's hat, and a captain's coat, and a dramatic scarf for no apparent reason. He steps out.
I push the cart in that direction.
Okay.
I can't wait to see how these mimes sail this ship. We'll just run on board.
So, does anyone else hear that, or am I going insane?
I do hear it.
Okay.
I hear it.
All right. Every now and then, it was not inappropriate music for this character. The thing is already sort of lowered down, so there's this big sort of plank that you can move it in onto the ship. Takes you a few minutes to get it on and maneuvered into place. And then you see him. Oh God. So let me see. How would a mime do this? So he goes over to where there is nothing, and he starts turning this crank that doesn't exist. And after a few moments, you kind of actually hear the sound of machinery. And you hear some clanks, kind of roughly from where this pod is, this chamber is. And he just sort of gestures.
I say quietly, I think something's broken. It's making sound.
Sounded like something metal hitting the chamber. And he just sort of gestures.
I go check the chamber.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Go again.
Yeah.
And you just sort of, the mime is looking at you quizzically.
Oh, you want me to move it?
And he's pointing up at something that's not there, above the chamber, and pointing down. And he's like,
he wants me to attach the hook. I take the hook that is not there and attach it to the chamber.
Where on the chamber do you attach it?
Are there any obvious loops? Oh, then at that point, I mime taking a strap out, and I put the strap around the chamber, and I tie it in a very elaborate knot, and then I attach the hook to the knot, and then I dust my hands in a very exaggerated fashion.
Excellent. Thank you for the subscription, by the way. Very, very cool. Thank you.
Wow, she figured that out pretty quickly.
Impressive.
No, right?
I take a bow.
Yeah, so the mime is like, and he starts turning the non-existent crank, and you hear this machinery again, and the chamber lifts up off the deck and swings over to the right, over the open port for the cargo hold. After he just sort of is like, he's turning this thing, he's like trying to move it around. Seems to be having a little trouble. And he's like,
Oh, I'm sorry, allow me. And Mac is just going to wander over to him and then start helping him with the crank.
oh, excellent. Yes, he's like, the two of you start turning the crank, and the chamber lowers down, seemingly of its own volition, into the cargo hold. Which he then, and then you hear it clank hitting the bottom. And he's like, and he runs over. And he sort of goes in, he reaches, sort of leans in, reaches way down. And you hear this kind of little a clank as he pulls up the hook that you can't see. He goes and he reels it back in. And then he's like, and the doors close, seemingly by themselves, for the cargo hold. And then he gets up and he sees, once again, to somebody. And you notice that the lines are starting to tie this to the dock are starting to are being pulled off. They're sort of the loop of rope is being like.
So Mac is just going to shrug and be like, "Oh, I guess he's got a crew." And then Mac is just going to start doing a little jig and pretending to sing as if he was going to try to get the entire crew to just do a sea shanty.
Oh my god. I would like you to roll something just so that I can see how good the sea shanty is.
Oh man.
I'm not going to give you a challenge number. I just want to see how good it is.
Here we go. It's a bad shanty.
Oh no.
So you're doing this, and after a moment, you hear a bagpipe playing, and it's off key. And then a tuba begins playing off key, a completely different tune. And then the accordion starts.
Oof.
And the mime is like, and he goes and he retreats into the cabin.
To be fair, I would have thought that a performer's crew would also be, staffed by performers. But
you would think. It also helps if they're real performers. After a moment, the boat begins moving. You don't hear anything starting up. But you can hear the boat moving through the water a little bit. You can hear the splashing of the water against it. You hear no motor, but the boat is moving as fast as a steamship would at this point, as it's so pretty slowly right now because it's coming out of the dock.
It's fascinating.
It turns, starts heading toward the mist.
He think Shantano just thinking out loud would be like, I wonder what happens, or if there's ever invisible storms on this boat.
Well, funny you should ask, because it's time for me to draw another card.
Oh no.
Spoke too soon.
Okay. Let's see what we drew. We have drawn the Eternal Mountain. It is for visions. Its meanings are unchanging solitude, memory, eternal long life. Okay. The mountain stands alone and unchanging. It always has and it always will. Some find this compelling, others terrifying. The mountain sees all and never forgets what it has seen. Eternal Mountain is the location card of the Visions family. And divination, a challenge that lies ahead, is insurmountable. Conversely, Conversely, if one is on the defense, one can weather any storm or assault, or any ill fate. Eternal Mountain in general predicts a long life, but it can also suggest that one should move forward alone, particularly to better reflect upon the past. Okay.
So what does this mean, kind GM?
That's a good question.
Kind and generous, Jim.
Jim, who definitely does not want to see our boat get caught in a storm we can't see.
No, the boat is fine. But there is So yeah. The way through to the gold is going to take a little time, first of all. So as you are going through, you see, you're still under the indigo for now. The way that I am imagining this going, and perhaps at some point, perhaps there are other ways that this works, but this is just how this particular ship operates, as it sort of finds the cracks between things. So there is a point when you see sometimes these things come out of the mist, and you can kind of see they still have the sun overhead, so it's not, the mists are not absolute. But what you do see every now and then, it's sometimes you see these very large things just kind of drifting in the water a ways off. There's something that looks kind of like a building just sort of sitting in the water. And you pass by, and again, this is not very close. You pass by at one point a number of sort of a school of a school of small humans that are sort of frolicking in the water. Humans dressed as fish. But as you get further, it takes probably the better part of a day, and I have some questions. As you're going past these various sites, and you're doing these, and you're just sort of sitting on the boat. There's not a lot to do. And I need to know if anyone goes below decks.
Shantano would just... This would be somewhat reminiscent of the shadow for him. They'd just be at the edge looking into the seas.
Actually, yes, let's go around. Mac, are you staying on deck, or are you going below decks at any point?
Oh no, he's gonna definitely explore underneath.
Okay, good to know. Vor, are you staying up top, or are you going below decks, or are you going somewhere else?
Probably stay on deck for a while, but yeah, I think Vor eventually is going to lose interest and go down, especially if Mac's already gone.
Okay. Shaw, are you going to stay up on deck, or are you going to go below?
I think I think her inclination would be to stay on deck, but that if it was taking longer than they had expected, that she might sort of wander and go make sure that the stasis chamber was secured okay wherever it was.
So Shaw is going to eventually go to the hold, and just see it there. Mac will be the first one down. What I'm about to present you with here is probably going to sound a little weird, but I realize that's probably... Why do I mean, how is that different from anything else? How is that different from anything else? Yeah. So, Mac, as you're sort of wandering around down below, and you see that there are rooms, there are, like a few cabins. And you see where the hold is, and you see where the engine room is. Do you go into any of those places?
I think... Is there a brig? Because I think that Mac would be curious to see what's going on in the brig.
Huh. There is a brig. Oh dear. We appear to have lost for a moment.
We've lost Shantano to the shadow.
We've lost Shantano to the shadow. Oh, crap. Luckily, I was prepared. So, yes, you have this, as you head to the brig. I'm actually going to draw now another card because I'm still keeping this one in mind, but now I need to know who's in the brig. Okay. Dee. Here we go. Let's come back here. And...
Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. You're good. So what we see in the brig, let's see, is going to be guided by the ambassador, which is the card we have drawn. Let me, oh. Everything's still kind of messed up. Let me make sure I've got this straight here. Here, let me pull you over here. There we go. Alright, excellent. Good. There we are. So many scenes. Okay. Yes, this is the ambassador of this card. That is it is the Eight of Visions. Its meanings are diplomacy, reason, discussion, and intelligence. She hails from a far-off land carrying a message of unity and civility. The ambassador wishes to talk, not to fight. She knows that words and wisdom offer a path to success that violence never could. Her words are careful and measured, never rash or ill-considered. If only there were more such individuals to make the world a better place. The ambassador is the adept of the Visions family. Her magic and skill come from her ability to persuade, which again brings us to the idea that words are as magical as any spell or ritual, just another type of incantation. In divination, for some, the ambassador card is a blessing. She indicates that calm heads and reason must prevail to remain on the path to success. That intellect is superior to brawn, and conversation is greater than conflict. But to those who already plan a more direct confrontational or even violent approach, this card can be a thorn in their side. So, Mac, when you go down to the brig, you see you don't see a person exactly. What you do see is a book hovering just above. There's like a bed in there, and there is a book hovering just above the bed, open. As you sort of look through the bars there.
Well, this is something you don't see every day.
The book sort of lowers when you speak. And sets itself. The book. A ribbon comes down. A ribbon bookmark comes down, and the book closes. And the book settles itself, it seems, on a small nearby table. And you get the impression that you kind of, because you can't hear any engine sounds, but you can hear pretty clearly the sound of someone standing up and walking toward you.
So, Max is just going to tilt his head and fold his arms and watch the space with a bit of caution.
Yeah. What kind of prisoner does Mac expect this might be?
Well, I think Mac is always just going to assume, unless otherwise stated, that everything he encounters is pretty much a spirit. I mean, that's kind of just how the Goetic work, I guess.
Sure. But what kind of spirit? Just based on what information you've gathered thus far.
Maybe it's a spirit of a rather abrasive theater critic.
So after a moment of just sort of standing there staring at nothing, you hear it move over, and there is this... It picks up this newspaper that's in the corner of the cell. And then you see this tin cup, and it comes sort of surging back forward, and you see this tin cup that is floating in the air, getting rattled back and forth. And then this newspaper, this rolled up newspaper, being banged against the bars for a moment.
Huh. Is it actually making noise, or
yes, the cup, the tin cup, and the newspaper are both making noise.
Huh. I was kind of hoping that you would at least be as about vocal as the mime, but so Mac is going to just draw out his one of his weapons, the Eskrima stick, and he's just going to bat at the tin cup, because that was probably the more obnoxious sound.
Yes, it is. So you bat at the tin cup, you hit it pretty easily. It just goes flying to the corner of the cell, clatters to the ground, and the pages of the newspaper is like sort of rustles and sort of is drawn back.
Okay, that's a little bit better. Maybe, do you want to use your words, or are we just going to play charades? Which I gotta admit, it's going to be pretty challenging for someone who isn't actually visible.
And you hear this sort of... The newspaper ruffles indignantly. And after a moment, you hear this. You hear more steps as the newspaper apparently is carried over to this table, and you see this red pencil appear from this other cup that's sitting on the table, and you see something happening. It's marking some things on the newspaper. And you hear a tearing as a page is torn off. And the page floats over to you and comes between the bars. It seems to be being pushed between the bars toward you.
All right. Max just gonna take it and roll his eyes and then just look at the piece of paper. I'm like, wow, it's almost like back home, working for that video game company. No one ever seems to want to communicate easily.
So yeah, you look at it, and you see that there are a few columns here of text, and a number of words have been circled. Well, 3 words in particular have been circled in these 2 columns as you look down. And the 3 words that have been circled are let, me, and out.
Oh. Well, I suppose that was pretty predictable. So here's the thing. I'm just a guest on this ship. You might just want to take your grievances up with the captain.
And after a moment, there's you hear more footsteps, and one of the pages of the newspaper is torn off, and you see it getting crumpled into a ball. And the ball is then thrown in your direction and hits the bars and bounces back down.
Wow. That was probably the lamest throw I've ever seen.
Let's see.
That was. I've seen some pretty big exercises in futility, but that's just right up there with the rest.
There's some more footsteps, some angrier footsteps, and there's a tearing sound again as another piece of paper is torn off, and the red pencil is active again. And it steps forward. The piece of paper floats forward and again is shoved between the bars.
All right. Just gonna snatch it back out, and just read it again.
It's an ad for cereal, but the word that is circled up in the headline of it is "you," and then right below it, we're just written in one out of 5.
Wow, 1 star, 1 out of 5. You must be some sort of critic or something. In which case, I would say that you are probably where you should be on this ship.
Hear this slight banging as of someone trying to shift the bars. Or as
Oh, I get it. Captive audience. You like that pun?
Behind you, you hear the you hear a horn play, that very famous tune that everyone knows that goes. Wah, 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 wah. And I think that's the moment when Vor is going to come down below decks. And you're hearing Mac talk to somebody, and it seems like a very one-sided conversation.
Mac. Who are you talking to?
I think this is a theater critic of some sort that might have crossed our captain, and so got thrown in the brig.
Who is a theater critic?
And with the Eskrima stick, he's just going to point at the empty space in the cell, as if it's the most natural thing in the world.
Mac.
This person over here.
Mac, there's nobody there.
There's someone right there. I'm not crazy, okay?
I never said you were.
Yeah.
But also, there's nobody there.
We're both Vizsla. I think we can both safely say that just because we can't see something doesn't mean it's actually not there.
Well,
Okay, yeah, touche.
you do look back in the cell, and nothing in there is moving right now.
Son of a bitch.
Alright, you know what? I know how to settle this. Can I use my telepathy to try to reach out and see if there's something there? I don't have to see them.
Yes. And I think... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to... Well... There is a thing to be found out here. And so... If you're able to hit a challenge of 5, then it will occur to you as you're doing this.
Okay. So, the ability itself is level 2.
Okay. That's down to 3.
So 3. Would my ability to understand magic that lies outside codified practices be of use here?
Yes.
Okay. So that gets it down to a 2.
Mm-hmm.
And could I also potentially try to charm it? Almost like a, hey, come here.
You can try that if you wish, yes.
Come here, I have a way for us to talk. I'm kind of humoring Mac, but also, yeah, look, if there's something there, talk to me. Okay, so that's down to a 1, and I get 2 dice for this.
All right. Okay. Yeah. You're good on both of those. So here's the thing. Let me actually ask you something.
Okay.
Are you expecting to find something there?
Not particularly. I mean, I know Mac talks to spirits, I assume. Do I know that, Mac?
Yes.
Okay. So I know Mac talks to spirits, so, I mean, maybe, but I also haven't seen any indication that there's a spirit there, because nothing was moving when I came down. So, probably not.
Okay. Yeah, you realize that it's not until you try to charm whatever it is, you're trying to kind of throw in a little charm as you're sort of probing. You don't sense anything. Then you're like, come on, saying to, like, nothing. And you feel for a second a hint of a presence. And then you're like, and then you sort of, it's like, you go through this very fast thing, right? Where it's like, no, wait, there's nothing there. Is there something there? There probably isn't anything there. And then it goes away and you think, is there something there? And then it comes back. And it occurs to you that whether or not there's someone in there is following your expectations. Is
only there if I believe that they're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, or at least are suspending disbelief enough.
All right, in that case, I will suspend my disbelief to try to will whatever it is into being.
What do you think is there?
Interesting. Well, I mean, all I really have to go on is what Mac told me, so that's what I assume is there.
Did Mac say? Did Mac tell you it was a critic, or did?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So yeah, now that it's coming up, here's the thing. You can read its mind, but you also are very conscious of the fact that this is like reading your own mind.
Oh, so it's almost like a mirror.
Sort of, yeah. It's like this thing isn't really there, but I'm going to get feedback as though something is there.
It's just powered by our thought and belief.
Yes. As is pretty much everything that the mime does.
Okay. I turned back to Mac and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I know how the ship runs now. That, whatever's in there is not, it's only there if we believe it's there, right? Whatever you think is going to be there is what's there. Does that make sense?
So you're saying all of this is just a very powerful imagination?
Yeah, like when I try to read the mind of what's there, it's like looking into a mirror.
Huh.
Like it's feeding off of my mind to construct itself.
Well, this ship is very Wonka-esque. I suppose this mime is pretty Wonka.
It's definitely fascinating.
It is. So, I'm not sure if we should actually just start bringing up this disbelief because...
Yeah, I don't want to muck around too much with that because we've got places to go.
Yeah. So, there's a critic in there, and he's very upset. Or she. I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to misgender you, but we're gonna go, but we'll send the captain your regards, and we're probably just going to go to the galley. Yeah, we should probably go to the galley.
Yeah, let's just we'll go.
Yeah. Let's think up of a good meal.
So you're heading to the galley. You can feel the boat slowing down. Shantanu, you actually are looking off the dock. I'm saying Shah has gone down to the hold. Prisoner's okay. It looks like there's absolutely nothing securing the. Actually, yeah. Let me get to Shah real quick. Then I'm going to come back to Shantanu. Shah.
Yes.
You come down to the. Hi. You come down to the hold. And as far as you can see, it looks as though there is absolutely nothing securing the pod to anything.
I run my hands down it. Are there no straps on it?
Are you expecting to find straps when you run your
Yes.
hand along it? Then yes, there are straps. You can feel them.
Okay. Cool.
You can't see them, but you can feel them.
All right. Good. I'll tug on them a little bit and make sure that they're, taut and strong and everything's stable. And then I'll hello. Almost home.
Okay. So Okay. Let me. I have to pose a question very briefly before I go up to Shantanu. I have to type the question.
Oh.
I'm going to go ahead and provide a choice here. And I'm good with either selection of this choice, but I just need to know if it's yay or nay. We're going to go up, whilst the votes are coming in, I'm going to go up to, over to Shantanu. Yeah, you see, so you're heading toward what looks like these cliffs for a moment. They loom out of the, mist. And there is a as you're looking at it slowly, it's like something looks a little weird about them. As you're kind of pulling further forward toward them, and you realize that as you're getting closer and closer, there is a more of a shape defined to them, as though maybe it's something hewn out of a cliff. And you realize that as you see that you're looking at this, you're looking up, you're actually seeing this very large wrist, very large arm made of stone rising up out of the water, and a giant fist on one of these cliffs. The other side of the cliff, it looks like maybe there look like a pair of shoulders, the other cliff. You're heading right between these two cliffs. You're starting to. And as you get closer, you see there's a head. Perched on top of this fist. And it is looking down at you with some alarm and concern.
Oh, does the head seem to be of stone as well? Or?
It does. But then there's a rumbling. And anyone who's below deck can hear this. It's a little muffled. But you hear... And you don't... Shantanu, you don't see anything move, but you're pretty sure this is coming from this hewn cliff. You hear... Who seeks passage to the gold?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes!
Oh. Then I guess we are.
All that is immutable, yet you wish to go to a place where it is not.
Well,
This is a boundary between the mutable and the immutable.
how else is the mutable supposed to return the immutable?
What purpose does your journey serve?
we're bringing someone back to their rightful place, I believe.
How can you do this when it would appear your boat has no engine? I would like everyone to attempt to withstand this, because what you're trying very hard not to do, those of you who know that to do it, I think the ones most aware of this are Mac and Vor. So this is going to be slightly less difficult for them. Because you've just had a conversation about this. But this is really, wait, don't think about the boat not having an engine, basically. This is that kind of roll that I'm about to ask everyone to make. And so I think what we're going to do is, let's see, would this be a withstand action? It could be. Let me actually pull up the rules reference document here. There it is. Defenses. No, withstand is health. Resist. Here we go. Resist. So yes, this is basically. So this is kind of an intellect attack that you're going to need to withstand here, and the challenge is 6 because you have met the immutable cliffs. So we're gonna go in turn. I think the challenge is 6. I'm gonna give Mac and Vor 5 on it, just because they just had this conversation just a moment ago. So actually, I'm gonna go ahead and start with them if folks don't mind. So I'll start with Vor. So we'll process each one of these rolls. What do you want to bring to this? Right? So 5 for you. What do you want to bring to this?
I have 1 level of skill in resist, appropriately enough. So that'll get me to a 4.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a thing I can probably charm my way out of, unfortunately.
Charm the cliff! No, this is actually just a sudden thing, so yeah.
So, can I spend sortilege for this?
So, yeah, this is a thing where you can always, if you want to bring magic into it, this is, if I'm remembering how this works correctly, yes. This is basically, you're making this a magical thing. And so you can essentially use magic for undefined stuff, and this is one of those, this would be one of those moments.
So if I spend a sortilege, does that lower the difficulty by 1?
Let me just real quick.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah, let me reopen the thing here. Just so that I have that in front of me. Because I think this is the first time anyone's actually trying to do this, and it's very exciting. Sortilege. Okay. Using magic to manipulate reality with sign points. What you get is, yeah. You can use it to get another die.
Oh, so I spend a sortilege, I can roll 2 die for this.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And you'd only need 1 success.
Alright, so I'll do that. And then my last thought is, does my ability to understand magic that lies outside of codified practices help me here as well?
Yes. Yes, because this is kind of the same thing.
Okay, so then I'll need a 3, and I can roll 2 die.
That is correct. And
Here we go.
for flavor, you can tell me what it is that you were... okay, good. You got it. You can sort of figure out what it is that... How did you use magic in this situation to help you?
So I would like to... so I'm a weaver, so my magic is sort of loosey-goosey anyway. So I'm sort of visualizing the engine and trying to will it into being and just adding a little bit of magical behind that.
Excellent.
No, there's actually an engine.
There's totally an engine.
Totally
Okay.
an engine.
So over to Mac. It's a challenge of 5. What are you bringing at it?
Let's see. So I've got a resist 1.
Okay, cool. So that's down to 4.
And I will use my 1 sortilege as well.
Okay, so you get 2 dice. And
I think that's basically it.
so you need a 4.
A 4.
Can I bring anything else in there? Okay, you only needed 1 success, so you got it. How are you using magic to help you in this situation?
I'm sort of just envisioning a summoning of spirits carrying along this mystical ship
Okay.
powered by the imagination of everybody else
Ship
involved.
of the imagination. Excellent. Good, good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, I'm going to move over to Shaw now.
Okay.
This is going to be difficulty 6.
Whew. Okay, so I get a +1 resist for my
Okay.
my object of power out of my mask, so that's a 5.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna apply an intellect because Mac had said something about the Wonka ship, and so the ability to be like, it doesn't need an engine. It's everything carries forward, like just because you can't see it.
Okay. Good. So you're spending an intellect. That's
4.
good. That'll bring it down.
And then I think that's all I can reasonably put in because I don't have any idea anything's going on. So
Okay, good. You made it.
yay, dice rolls.
You hold on to the belief. No, it's okay. You don't need an engine. We're good. Shantanu.
Right.
Difficulty 6.
Is the stone face trying to deceive me in any way?
No.
Okay. Would understanding its motives help?
Yes. I think it would.
Okay. And if I understand its motives, could I use survival?
I think it would apply in this situation, yes.
Mhm. So that would bring me down to a 4. I don't think searching or stealth would help at all.
No, probably not.
Okay.
I understand why the engine is quiet.
All right, so 4. 2d10.
Anything else? It's well.
Or-
Are you spending sortilege on this, or are you?
Sortilege.
Because that would give you 2d10.
Sure. How much sortilege do I need to spend?
You just 1. It makes it a magical effect, so you're using magic to get a second die, basically.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so now you
I'll
got 2
spend
shots.
my sortilege.
Ah, okay. Here's the thing. That 10 is a 0. But that's not the magic die, so there's no flux. What were you trying to do to bring magic to bear on this?
Kind of like how I saw what the captain did earlier, based off like if just think like if the boat didn't have an engine, or like if the boat didn't have a crank, then we wouldn't have been able to lift up that thing.
Right.
So it's technically not there. So obviously magic. So that you can't see an empty engine or an engine, then it's obviously a magical engine. So of course the boat can move. It's a magical engine.
So you, okay, got it. Okay. So you're trying to pull your magical energies to bear to think, okay, no, it's a magical engine. This is how this works. But when you do this, you hear the rocks are just sort of, actually you hear a little rumbling, but you don't, the rocks aren't falling or anything. It's just, and the mime just sort of is coming out of the cabin and looking around. And the thing is that you're trying to think of it as a magical engine. You're very much trying to. But yeah, as this is, I'll go ahead. The head is going to just sort of say to you, well, what is your answer?
Like, well, the engine is magical, of course. That's how you move.
And he will, and it will say, a likely story. And the boat stops. We're going to go ahead and conclude that for now. At this point, as you're sitting between two very large cliff people. And you're apparently right now dead in the water. And that is where we will end this session. As sadly, everyone succeeded, but the one that was talking to the cliff, unfortunately. All right. Well, this is our first little cliffhanger. Unfortunately, that does mean that we're not going to be able to do a downtime session in between, unless someone wants to do a flashback or something like that, which is possible. For development mode or some such thing, but we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, let us go around once more and do our outros, and feel free again to say where folks can find you and any thoughts about this session, and we will start with Danielle.
Hey everybody, I'm Danielle at Raconteur on Twitter, where I tweet about nerd stuff, cosplays, games, things of that nature. If you like that stuff, you can follow me there. I am currently playing in a Dresden Files RPG game on Friday nights, 8 p.m. at Variant Rolls. And I am also DMing a 5e D&D game on Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Pat Spraticus's channel. They are currently cavorting through the elemental plane of fire. It's a good time. They're just about to chase somebody, so definitely come join me there.
Excellent. Awesome. Any thoughts about this session?
I have no idea what we're going to do to get past the space thing, but I'm really excited to see the goal. So. And also, I want this boat. Like, the imagination boat is phenomenal.
Nice. Excellent. Well, let's... I would like it too. Let us move on to Anino.
Hey, my name is Anino. You can find me on Twitter at Anino Gaming. Let's see. I'm sort of on a stream hiatus. I have a procedure thing that I need to go through next week. So, but I'll be on the Extra Life channel tomorrow from 3 to 5 Eastern time. I have no idea what I'm going to do yet, as that is pretty much par for the course when it comes to me streaming on Twitch. Only other thing that I have to promote or talk about is my annual Extra Life fundraising is on Go. You can find the link there in the chat channel. All the proceeds that go to that page will aid my local Children's Miracle Network Hospital, which is Boston Children's. Yeah, donate today. They'll be drawing for a number of prizes, all of which you will see a list of on that page. So check it out today when you get a chance. As far as today's session goes, I'm really glad we got to see the ship. I was kind of bummed that our last session ended up with us just going back to the street, but sailing on the ship is it's probably the most surreal thing that we've done so far on Invisible Sun. And I'm trying not to think too hard about the fact that Mac was basically just playing himself in with that brig scene. So
Well, it was very helpful in figuring out how the ship works, though.
yes, indeed.
Excellent, awesome. And Wilde.
Yes, hi, I'm Wilde Engineer. You can catch me on Tuesdays on Greyhawk channel for some D&D where I play an 7 intelligence barbarian. That's fun. On Thursdays, I'm on Welcome to the Party where I play Mass a New Generation Hack. It's very Power Rangers based. So yeah, we're like Super Sentai, and we all look, at this point we're just like, why are we even in these suits? This is weird. What the hell? And on Fridays, I am actually running my own campaign on Welcome to the Party of Mass a New Generations with teenage superheroes. Yeah, that should be super fun. I brought in a lot of emotions that they weren't expecting. Oh, and this is very interesting. I really like how the mime is just, things just happen around them. As long as you act it out, it happens to be there. And I learned something new. 10s are bad.
Yes. 10s are not good. Oh yeah. Had it been the other die, it would have been Flux. And then even more craziness would have happened. Let's see. Awesome. And Djinnaya, hey.
Hello, my name is Djinnaya, and I make art and play good games with nice people. And you can find me at Djinnaya on Twitter, and you can't find me on any other games online right now because this is the only game I'm playing because I am drowning in art deadlines. So you can follow me on Twitter, and hopefully I'll start finishing things soon and posting them there before the deadlines hit. And if you've got a cool game going on, you can find me there and ping me because I will definitely be looking for new games soon as I start coming out of deadline zone towards the end of this month. And the game was, it was fun. I mean, I just liked the scene of us like trying to go through the tram and everything else. I just feel like we're just like, I continue to feel like at some point the challenge is going to be like, this group of people needs to make friends. We're going to be like, oh, well, we're doomed. We need to make mischief. Like, we need to just like convince our way through something. We're good. But like, we're just like this endless bundle of like, I don't know. I love it.
I already made a friend, so we're all good.
I know. That's true. Yes. Yes, thank you so much for befriending murder for us. That was an excellent addition to the party.
Remember, if all else fails.
It's true.
If all else fails, you can always...
Hopefully Chateauneuf won't murder a cliff in the next episode, but, we'll see.
I
find out.
I definitely want to see what happens there.
Yeah.
Also, keep in mind, if you ever hit anything that is truly impassable, or you feel is truly impassable, you still have wicked keys. So there are always those available. All right, folks. Well, once again, I'm Jim Ryan. I generally have no idea where these sessions are going to go, and I'm just delighted to always find out where they end up. You can you can find me coughing at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I've got links down below to my website, Twitter, and YouTube channel. Here on this channel, tomorrow, we are doing a one-shot of The Quiet Year, which is a map drawing game about just sort of rebuilding after the fall of civilization. On Tuesday this coming week, we have the second session and first actual RP session of our campaign, a short campaign of Mashed, which is a game that is powered by the apocalypse. It takes place during the Korean War, and is somewhat inspired by the TV show, but not based on it. Based more on the history. And we've done a lot of character building in our sort of session 0, and so it's I think it's going to be really cool when we get into it. And then, of course, 1 week from today, we shall have another episode of The Edge of Paradox, where we will see what happens when you're stuck between a cliff and another cliff. Just sort of take it from there. Sign-ups right now are... right now, the sign-up page is still technically active for The Quiet Year, although I think we're full for The Quiet Year. We do have The Deep Forest, which is also The Quiet Year, but it's a different setting. Somewhat, it's a sort of more fantasy setting, and it's more about decolonization of a forest where monsters live after humans have moved out. We could probably squeeze one more person in there if there's any interest. So if anyone wants to sign up for that, that's available via the RPG sign-up link down below, or just go to jimyesthatjim.com and click on Game Sign Up. As always, beginners are welcome. Well, when we hit the end card, I'm going to send a raid over to the Greyhawk channel, which I don't think I've actually raided before, but they've got some folks currently playing. They're doing some, actually some older school stuff, or older school looking stuff. Of some things that's being run by Lex, who is great at describing things. Is a great GM, and it's got one or two folks in there that I also recognize.
I know that game. He's running D&D BX, which is a very crunchy version of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh,
I mean, I believe someone lost 2 characters in episode 1 last time I played with him.
Oh my god. This is it says Fall Campaign Intrigue in the Ivory Kingdom. It's episode 1, so I think they're starting a new thing that he's doing. But yeah, I've kind of gone by and seen some of they've got like the old school frame around it. But anyway, you'll see. Anyone who would like to, feel free to tag along, and you're more than welcome to, and just to come over and say hi to them. And again, that will be at the end card. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, folks. Take care. And I will see you next week. Farewell.